this, that they're using the Islam as a weapon to say, for example, they're killing innocent people in so-called jihadists.
Mm-hmm.
We and I know this is not Islam. Islam don't allow anybody to kill any human being. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's ridiculous that they're using the religion as a weapon.
Okay, I would love to believe that, but there is no foundation in your claim that Islam does not ask or order Muslims to kill human beings. It's not true. If you're referring to Quran Surah 5 verse 32, then I will obviously argue against it, because if you read the context and if you read the verses coming after that, it makes things very clear. The Quran itself, when it comes to defining who are humans, then you will see non-Muslims are considered subhumans in Islam. They are not even humans in Islam. So you said you have been watching my videos even from the time when I was preaching Islam.
Yes, absolutely.
So it has become quite surprising to you why I am
that's what I was trying to understand, because you seem a very knowledgeable person regarding the Islam, as itself, as a religion. So for you, person like yourself, to come up from the religion, that was very surprising, because I'm not expert on the religion, you see, I'm saying myself, but what I can see from the religion, you see, it is a very peaceful religion, but
well, I would love to, as I said, I would love to believe that, but Islam is not a peaceful religion, rather is the opposite. And if you can give me any reason to believe that it is a peaceful religion, and secondly, it is the truth, then obviously I am all ears, because I am someone who is all for logic, reason, and evidence. So if you can give me any sort of argument which will prove that Islam is a peaceful religion, and
if you look at the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see, from his time, if you look at the Islam now, it's a disaster now, because they even the Muslim people killing themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? They're their own people they're killing. You see. So this is you can't just say that. If you look at Islam now, it's a big mess now. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you look at from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he always looked after people. He always looked after his own people. Even the Quran say, if you kill an innocent person, you just kill the whole humanity.
That's what I just said. That's what I just said. I knew that you would refer to Surah 5, verse 32. But as I said, if you read the context of that verse, and if you keep on reading the whole context and the verses that are coming after that, it will make it very clear to you this is not what it is meant. Because you need to understand a few words that's used there. For example, unless they are spreading corruption in the lands. So the corruption in the lands, fasad, is spread when Allah's revelations have come and you have rejected. So rejection of Allah's words, in fact, creation of fitna, fasad. And then if you do that, then it is justifiable to kill you. That's what it is. So, very conveniently, apologetics do misquote this verse. Moreover, if you read Surah Bayina, you will see the non-Muslims are called the worst creatures. And also, if you read Surah Tawbah, you will see that verse 28 and the verses before that and after that, they make it very clear that non-Muslims are unclean. So these are all making it very clear.
If you say here, I haven't read that surah. Are you referring? If, for example, if he says unclean, it doesn't mean that the heart is probably not clean as because they are not within their religion, you see, with Islam.
Brother, that's the problem.
How would you say it's dirty?
Brother, that's the problem.
Being. They have the same blood as us. If you same color, everything is same.
Listen,
it's just they don't believe.
Listen, brother. For our talk, it could be better if I knew your name, but I don't know your name. But nevertheless,
Faisal Ahmed.
Okay, Brother Faisal, listen. You seem to be a good man because your understanding of Islam is something which is based on your own conclusions. For example, you just mentioned that probably that verse is referring to heart. This is not true, because that verse in fact refers to Muslims only should be allowed to enter Masjid al-Haram. Non-Muslims should be barred from entering Masjid al-Haram because they are unclean. And now, even yesterday, there was supposed to be a decision about Asia Bibi. I don't know whether you know the case of Asia Bibi in Pakistan. And the main reason, first of all, the charges were brought against her because she allegedly insulted Muhammad. And all this problem and arguments started when Asia Bibi drank from the same cup other Muslim women were drinking from. So this kind of attitude, the attitude of branding non-Muslims as kafir, murtad, munafiq, and all, it is called in Islam that they have a disease in their hearts because of their belief, and they are frowned upon, they are rejected, they are hated, and in everything. For example, it is said that non-Muslims will never get peace, will never have peace. And this is Surah 8, verse 55. And if you read Surah 2, verse 10, you will see that it's called that there, and Surah 33, verse 12 and on. You read all that. You will see that the munafiqs, the kafirs, they all have disease in their hearts. So this kind of attitude is taken regarding non-Muslims. So how can you say this religion is peaceful? It is not.
You see, if I may interrupt, you said about the munafiq. I mean, munafiq is not related to. You can't say there's Islam only called the munafiq, because if you think about it, the munafiq is who's took. He will say something to you and he will agree with you and he will go back behind you and say something else. This is what's munafiq, isn't it? That's nothing to do with Islam.
No, I didn't say that was. I said that's what the position is about munafiqs in Islam. It's called a disease. So when on the other hand, if we say that vast majority of Muslims are peace-loving, for example, you are saying, for example, you seem to be a nice man, but I don't believe that you, no offense, I don't believe you know Islam much. But
no, I don't. I mean, that's what I said to you. I mean, I don't have a great amount of knowledge about Islam. But I have the basic knowledge, and
brother,
from my understanding, I can't see anywhere the Quran.
No, I mean that's what I'm trying to argue back, because when I was in hospital for my triple bypass surgery, it was a very serious operation.
Oh, right,
I had a picture up on my Facebook wall, when I was in the intensive care unit. 83,000 copies of my photo were made, and they were circulated on Facebook, and not overwhelming, all the Muslims there were cursing me, holding prayer sessions for my death, and only a handful were saying, well, give him shifa and then let him come back to Islam, with a proviso, with a caveat. So none of them were saying, regardless of what Mufassil stands for, Allah give him life, give him security, give him health. Nobody said that. Whereas Christians, Hindus, atheists, they were all wishing me good luck. When if you're following me for a long time, I was critical of Christianity all my life. I still am.
No, I totally
But if this is, sorry brother, let me finish. So if this problem is widespread like this, then Islam is producing people who are failing to understand what humanity is all about. Then if Islam considers munafiq, kafirs, or all them as people with disease at heart, then you tell me what Islam is producing. Isn't Islam producing people with hatred in their heart? Now, you said at the beginning of this conversation that Muslims are in trouble. Obviously they're lost. This is a big mess. This is a big mess because Muslims, unwittingly or unknowingly or unwillingly, they have been brainwashed with this Islam, although they don't know much about it. Now, people like you, who are well-behaved, nice people, and I believe there are many, many Muslims who are very lovely people. They can be wearing toupee, they can be wearing hijab, but they don't know Islam. So, for example, if you are nice, you're being polite and everything, but you don't know Islam, brother. That's the problem.
No, no, I totally understand. I mean, what you just said, you see, first of all, I didn't know, brother, you had operations, heart bypass,
But what do you say? Well, now, what would you, as I said, you know that I'm a non-Muslim now. Would you pray for me?
No, I mean, listen, it's your choice to either leave the Islam or coming back to Islam. It's nothing to do with anybody, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to
Brother,
say.
I'm asking, Brother Faisal, I'm asking a simple question. You know,
Yep.
I am a non-Muslim now, a murtad
Yes.
now, a kafir now. My question to you, as a Muslim, would you pray for me?
Yes, I would. I would pray to Allah to say, give you shifa and, give you the right mind to see the good thing about Islam and come back to Islam. This is what I would say to Allah.
Brother, you just said something which is beautiful, but I must remind you, this is totally against Quran. In Quran, it is forbidden. It is forbidden to pray for non-Muslims. It is absolutely clear. If you read Surah 9 from verse 100 onwards, you will see what I'm saying absolutely true. That Muslims cannot pray for non-Muslims. Even Muhammad said that he could not pray for his own deceased parents because Allah forbade him to do that. He could visit their grave, but he couldn't pray for them.
Yes, but the thing is, they died, isn't it? Are you referring his uncle who was
No. His own parents. And not only parents, as I said, there were even verses in the Quran which are generalized that Muslims cannot pray for non-Muslims. They cannot pray for them.
Well, I'm not sure about this.
I'm telling you, I'm giving you the verses.
I mean, I'm not saying you're lying or anything, you know what I'm saying, but I'm just saying, I don't know this, but what I'm saying that, you were a Muslim before. Now you're not a Muslim anymore, you see.
No,
But I don't see any harm to it to say, oh Allah, give him the hidayah and come back to
Can't do
Islam.
that. You can't do that. You can't do that because that's forbidden in Islam, in Quran. So you read Surah 9, as I said, verse 100 and onwards. You read for yourself. Now, I will ask you a question, brother, if you give me the permission.
Sure.
Give me one reason for which you think it is the best thing to remain a Muslim. Give me one reason.
Right. So first, okay, fair enough. That's what I said to you, brother. If you look at the Islam now itself, through all these Muslims, they're, like yourself, when you're going through a hard time, they were cussing you. Do you know what I'm saying? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. That as a Muslim,
why do they do? Why do you think they do that?
They were you're right. They are brainwashed. They are brainwashed by radicalized imams. Do you know what I'm saying? And these preachers, you see. I totally agree with you. There's some, let me tell you something. You see, I was talking to one of my cousins. You see, he's 21, and he prays 5 times and everything. You see, but their way of Islam, how they think, because I said they have always have this hatred to the Western world. You see, he lives in London, and he born and brought up here. You see, and he has this. I said, whenever you say something about it, they said, look, they're kafir, ita kafir of all, ita matmatina. And I said, look, you're living in their country, you're getting the benefit from their country, and you should be following the rules of the country and the law of the country, you see. And that's what I was saying. Then we were talking about the tax, you see, because he works in a quite good. He gets good money, you see. And I said, are you paying full tax or something? He said, no, I'm just hiding a little bit. And I said, look, as a good Muslim, you should not do that. I don't do that because I'm a Muslim. I should not do that because, this is their money. You have to pay for it. And he said, no, hiding the tax is fine. It's okay. The Quran says it's fine. I thought, this is ridiculous. Where did you get that? Do you know what I'm saying? So they are kind of brainwashed. I totally agree with you. This imams, and the attitude they have is diabolical. But as the Islam itself, I think it's a very peaceful.
But then my question is, what does Islam actually say about you living in a kuffar dominated land? What does Islam say? In fact, Muhammad himself said that those
Yeah.
of you who live among the kuffar,
Yeah.
I washed my hands of the responsibility. This clear hadith. And also, you should live among the kuffar only to preach Islam and for a temporary basis and come back. And you do not stay among the kuffar, because if you do, you pick up their culture, their way of life, and if you pick up their culture and way of life, you become one of them. That is what Islam says.
Well, if they, for example, if Islam says that, brother John,
It does.
I don't see, if you stay in a non-Muslim country, if you want to preach, if they won't listen to you, that's fine. If they don't want to listen to you, then you can't do it. I mean, for example, this country, you can preach, you got the freedom, but if they say no, you can force them. Do you know
That's what the law says, and that's what it should be. But
Yeah,
the problem is, I'm telling you the problem is, Islam in fact instructs you to wait for the right time when you should have enough strength so that you can impose. Because in Islam, one should be forgiven if he just simply says, okay, I believe in Islam. He should be forgiven.
Yeah.
Because nobody can read his heart. But the problem is, Islam relies on the surface of it. Islam doesn't care for what the heart is telling. That's why if there is a critic of Islam, Islam instructs him to be stopped by any means necessary. And that's why Muhammad instructed that if you see something which is against Islam or against what is unjust is obviously according to what Quran says unjust, you use your hand first. It doesn't say use your mouth first. It says you use your hand first, and then if you cannot use your hand, then use your mouth. Then if you cannot use your mouth, then hate from the heart. But it should be the other way around. That's where Islam is in collision course with the civilized world. Now, if you want to tell me that Islam, as I said, Islam is peaceful, Islam tells you to respect people, but the question is, that's not what Islam is. It is a civilized understanding, interpretation of Islam. And if you read the life of Muhammad, and if you read the hadiths carefully, and you must remember Muhammad himself said, "Summa alladhina yadgunahum, summa alladhina yadgunahum." So you cannot really, in fact, go beyond tabi tabi'in. So if you go beyond tabi tabi'in, then you will be in fact going against the core of Islam. So if you remain to Quran and Sunnah, then Ati Allah, Ati Rasul, if you remain within the context of Muhammad and his life, that's where you get your Islam from, not from Ibn Kathir, not from say Sayyid Qutb. You get Islam from Muhammad himself. So if you get Islam from Muhammad himself, say Quran and the Hadith, and that's enough. That should be enough. Now, there was a time when Islamic scholars, they were trying to beautify Islam. They were coming up with interpretations, and they were doing good, in fact, in many cases. But now, once you have unmasked the evil, you cannot put the mask back on, because we have seen the ugliness. So the ugliness is the evil that Islam produced, even from the time of Muhammad. You said about the time of Muhammad. What did he do, brother? To be honest, you need to study. What did he do? Muhammad was invited to Medina by Christians and Jews, right? And there were Muslims who were called Ansars. Even amongst the Ansars, there were people who were considered to be munafiqs. Even the leader of the Ansar, Abdullah Ubay, if I didn't get the name wrong, but I think that's the name. And he was considered a munafiq because he was against Muhammad's atrocious steps. And Muhammad, in fact, with flimsy excuses, he was banishing the very people who had invited him there to out of the lands, because Muhammad got revelations that those people were, for example, planning to kill him. And also he was taking over markets of the Jewish people. There was Banu Qurayza, they were all wiped out. And even Fadak, the people of Fadak, they were peace-loving people. They didn't never attack Muhammad. Muhammad attacked their lands and the early morning and took over the lands and made them work there in their own lands in exchange of giving money to Muhammad. What kind of attitude was that? Why did he punish Kinana to death by torturing him to find out where he kept his treasure of the tribe? Why did he kill Safiya's husband, Safiya's father, and then eventually had sex with her, and he got him initially as a war booty? Brother, you do not distribute human beings. He and his tribe and his people distributed war booties, women as goods. As goods. So you are telling me that Islam was peaceful during Muhammad's lifetime?
I've got no knowledge of that.
But you got the knowledge. At least I'm sure you got the knowledge of Aisha, right? You know about Aisha, right?
Yes.
Now
yes.
you have to promise me you'll be honest before you answer this question. You have to be honest, 100%.
Yes.
Now
sure.
You tell me, brother. Do you think, honestly, hands on your heart, someone at the age of 9 is mentally fit enough to give a composed, well understood decision? Tell me, yes or no?
No.
So marriage is a contract, right? So
right.
How come Aisha was given to Muhammad at the age of 9 when she had no choice of giving a confirmed decision? How do you expect that to be an ideal thing to do?
Yes, absolutely. Obviously she was very young. If you look at this society, the Western society now, is 8 years old, is a child. Yes, absolutely right. But my understanding was that they didn't. They were married, isn't it? But they didn't sleep together till quite late.
Until 9.
Right.
No, and when Aisha was having this, a wedding program, she was in fact at that. You go and check your own hadith, you will see Bukhari and all. Aisha was playing in the frontier, and she was brought into the house. And she didn't know, she couldn't comprehend what was going on. She was giving a bath and everybody was praising her. And for a while, she did not understand what was going on. So that makes it very clear that she was a child. She was playing with dolls. Even after coming to Muhammad's house, her friends were hiding when Muhammad was walking into the house. So this all makes it clear. Even Muhammad was wearing her clothing. So this makes all very clear that Muhammad married Aisha at a time when she was mentally, forget about physically even, she was mentally immature. And Muhammad is called a man, Surah 33, that he's a man of character to follow, to emulate. So that's why you will see when in the Indian subcontinent, Child Marriage Restraint Act was enacted by the British. Do you know which community revolted against it, rebelled against it? The Muslim community. When India in the 1970s, they tried to increase the age of the children about marriage restrictions. Ask me which community rebelled against it again? The Muslim community. So you tell me why.
I'm not denying, brother. There is an issue within Muslim ourselves, because that's the reason.
No, not Muslim, brother. Islam. Let's get it right.
Well,
Islam.
Yes. If you look at the reason we are getting beaten up by the Western world so often, because we are not strong. We don't stay together. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the reason, and this is the problem we as Islam having, you see, because they have different ideas. Everybody has a different ideas, different way of thinking.
That's why you should only rely on Quran and Sunnah and the Seerah if necessary, and one of the greatest scholars that ever walked the face of the earth from Islam. Rely on them and then make a conclusion, honest conclusion about Islam. Brother, listen, sorry to interrupt. I will listen to you. I'll give you time. Don't worry. Now I'm just saying.
No, that's fine. What I'm saying, brother, I will. I'm a very busy man, with work and everything, but I will definitely look into the Quran. But I can guarantee you that I won't lift my religion. You see, what I can see is a peaceful. It might not be for yourself.
Brother, do you drive? Do you drive?
Sorry?
Do you drive?
Yes, I do.
Right. You had to pass the driving test. You had to.
Absolutely.
You were not allowed to drive a car until you really knew how to drive, right?
That's right.
But you are calling yourself Muslim without even understanding Islam to a level even. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to belittle you or insult you anyway. But I'm telling you, you are calling yourself a Muslim. You're seeing Islam to be peaceful. I don't know where you see Islam peaceful. I don't know where. But that's totally hypocrisy, brother. Absolutely.
No. Like I said, I will look into it, brother, and I will soften, understand more if I read the Quran and everything. But I can see, if I read it, then I will understand more. And but
all you need to do.
I'm just saying that there isn't any option that I'm going to.
You need to. You only need to be honest. And read the life of Muhammad. Start with the seerah, then correlate the seerahs with the hadiths, and then the Quran. That's really enough for you.
No, that's fine. I'll do that, brother. But I got no intention to say anything wrong by you, Jones. Bad thing to you. I mean, I just looked at the number and I thought, I've seen good thing about before you come out from the Islam, brother. And then I was looking at it. It was really saddened me, Jones. And I thought, a guy like him, that what he's saying now, he was really.
I am respectful. I am respectful. I'm still to Muslims. I love Muslims. I hate Islam. I hate all religions, but I love people. But at the same time, I'm taking huge risk on my life to free my my fellow ex-Muslim brothers in faith from this cult, because this is a cultish attitude, and I have become more I would say bad in my words, in my comment boxes, because of.
You got frustrated and
well, what do you expect when they want to rape my mother, rape my wife? What do you expect?
That's why I said to you, brother, it's your life. If you don't want to believe something, Islam.
Do I have the right to speak? Do I have the right to criticize Islam in every level? Do I?
Brother, I would say you can criticize Islam much as you like, but I would say in a good manner.
What is the good manner, brother? What is the good manner? Do I have the right to offend? The Western civilization, and based on the fact that freedom of speech means I have the right to offend, and if I have the right to offend, there is no binding in my preachings. Now, if you have the right to shout Allahu Akbar, I have the right to say Allah does not exist. He's evil and he's a devil.
Of course. You can. Your mother. If that what you believe that Allah don't exist. It's your choice.
Do I have the right to say, when you say Muhammad is a perfect character, brother, when you say Muhammad is a perfect character, do I have the right to say Muhammad was a rapist? And I will give references for that.
You can. If you feel like it,
I'll give references. Brother, what is a statutory rape? A statutory rape. You tell me the definition of a statutory rape today.
I'm not.
The word rape does not even exist in Quran. The word rape is not recognized as a crime in Quran. Let me tell you why. The last words, brother. Because when you have non-consensual sex and you force yourself upon someone, that's rape. And in Islam, you can have war booties, and you do not need to have consent from them. You don't need to pay dowry to them. And that's why you can have sex with war booties, and that's rape, brother.
I'm gonna look into that, brother, because the what I know is, as I say, if you want to get married, you have to get the permission from the girl. And
that's not marriage. War booty is not marriage.
I don't agree with you that the Quran will say that you can have a sex without the permissions.
I'm telling you, Surah 24. Brother, read Surah 24. Okay? Go and read. You will see that you can have sex. Even you cannot have. Let me make it, worse for you. That Quran says you should not have sex with married women, right? Yeah. Unless they are war booties. And also you can have sex with your married wives and with your war booties or your right hand possessors. Go and check, brother. If you can prove me only this wrong, that I quoted wrong, I will come back to Islam.
No problem. Yeah,
that's a challenge.
That's the last thing I wanted to say, but I can understand you are criticizing the Islam and the Prophet. That's
I criticize all religions.
But no, that's fine. But what I'm saying, don't you think there should be some sort of boundary, you know what I'm saying,
no.
how far
No, there should be no boundary in criticism. No.
No, I mean, if you, saying that, I'm sure I don't know what background you have, what kind of the background. But what I'm saying, I've seen one of the sister was criticizing Islam, and on the video she was having a pork and saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Yeah.
I think yes,
That's
you guys.
mockery. I have the right to mock. I have the right to mock. I will mock.
Sorry.
I will mock.
No. You can. Yes, you can mock, but I think.
Why not?
Doing something like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, why not? If somebody has the right to shout Allahu Akbar 5 times a day, even including middle of the night, in a country where there are 10% are Hindus, and jump me up from my bed, and I have the right to mock as well. Why not?
No, you have right to mock, but I think.
Now you are praying, brother. You are praying 5 times a day. You are praying 5 times a day. You are uttering Surah Fatiha. At the end of the Surah Fatiha, you are saying, Gairil Muqdib Alaihim Waladdallin. Do you know what it denotes to? It denotes to that you don't want to be following the ways of the derailed and the cursed. Do you know who are these derailed and the cursed according to hadiths and tafsirs, greatest of tafsirs? Read Surah. Read Ibn Khatir and read the hadiths. These are the Christians and the Jews. So staying in a Christian and Christian dominated nation, you are uttering a surah, Fatiha, 5 times a day, where it curses Christians and Jews, and you are mocking their generosity when they're giving you equal rights. They're not asking you to pay jizya tax, and you are to tell me that I don't have the right to mock. I have the right to mock.
I'm not saying that you don't have the right to mock.
Thank you very much. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Take care. Well, that's me.